I filmed that B-roll that you guys just saw 3 times over 2 days. I went the first day at 1 in the morning and 4 in the morning. I went the second day at 5 in the morning and 7 in the morning. And this is the clip that I showed you guys at 7 in the morning because I had the best outcome out of all of them. The issue is my nighttime shooting gets way too noisy, and you just can see all like the salt grain in the back, and it doesn't look very good. I had one clip where I filmed actually a really nice. It went really nice. I went at 4K, but the issue was it was too low of a frame rate, and the shutter speed was too low, so things were getting kind of blurry. I'll show you guys what it looks like. But anyways, that's not important. Let's get into the video. Today we're going to be talking about web development, or actually software development ecosystems, how applications work from front to back. And many of you have heard terms like front-end developers and back-end developers, but I don't think many of you understand how the whole ecosystem works, how they all connect, and how they all add on to make this beautiful application that you get in front of you. You see, front-end developers have to learn things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If it's an older browser, jQuery. If an older application, they gotta learn jQuery. CSS preprocessors like Sass and Less to make your CSS a lot better and a lot more modular. Understanding how to interact with APIs is important. Being able to communicate with your backend developer and with his APIs and make sure that the whole thing ties in really well is almost critical for a front-end developer, unless you're working like a really small, just a layout of a page or something. But if you're working on an actual site, you're going to need to communicate with some data. Responsive mobile design. This is a big one. Making sure that your site works both on web, iPad, if you're working a desktop Electron, but making sure it's responsive across all platforms and that it stays consistent is super important. Some things that you might run into: cross-browser development. If you're catering to an older audience, an older group of people that might not use the latest and greatest technologies, you have to make sure that your application still works on a bit more legacy, like Internet Explorer 5 or something like that. That's what jQuery was made for originally, but now I think React has taken over and going to make that a lot easier for all of us. Depending on the type of job, you might have to run into accessibility. My friend Josh Fluke made a video about it. I'm going to post it right here. Super cool video. Talks about why you need to learn it, what it is, and all that. Like all developers, and this goes for backend and frontend, you need to have good problem-solving skills. You need to be able to debug. You need to have some patience to sit through these problems for a couple hours, maybe even a couple days, and get zero work done, except for the fact that you've just been trying to figure out what this one error is, and communicating with your team. Being able to talk to your team and tell them what's going on, tell them, hey, I want this to happen, but it's not, this is what I've done. Taking them through your thought process is super important, because we don't all write code the same. We all write code differently, and it's harder to understand other people's code when we didn't write it. First one is the MVC pattern. Now, the MVC pattern stands for Model View Controller. The model contains the core functionality and the logic of the app. The view deals with user interactions and showing user the data that you've pulled from the backend. And the controller connects the two. The controller will supply the view with the data pulled from the model. When something happens on the view, it will send it down to the model. So when a user clicks like this picture, it sends it down to the model through the controller, adds it to the database, and then it can send back up a confirmation letting the front end know it's saved in the database, and then that like button will, if it's a heart, it'll fill it. Let's quickly go over the MVC structure. So we have a model here in red, we have a controller in blue, and we have a view in green. And we're going to pretend that I have a Facebook page on the side here. Or let's even go with Instagram. And I got a picture here, right? And I got a heart at the bottom. It's not filled in because the picture hasn't been liked. And now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to click on the heart. This is my hand. I'm going to click on the heart and I'm going to activate the liking feature on this Instagram page. First thing that's going to do is, since this page is pretty much the view is going to tell the controller what happened, and then the controller is going to direct my event to a specific model. So in this case, we're going to be going to most likely the Instagram photo model or something like that. And then the model is going to go to the database and it's going to increment the likes on this picture. So let's say it was 1 before, well, now 2. So the view talked to the controller, and the controller mapped that to the model where the logic was done of incrementing the database. So the view passed down the user interaction to the controller activated the proper model, and then the model did the logic of incrementing that specific picture's likes in the database. Let's go over the server-client model. As it describes, there's 2 parts to the name. There's the client and there's the server. The server is similar to the model and the controller put together from the MVC pattern. So it deals with talking to the database, it deals with requests from the users, it deals with everything. It actually is pretty much an API with endpoints. So you build a bunch of endpoints and you can call, /Mike/1 and it'll return the first picture to you, and /Mike/2 will return the second picture to you if it's like a Facebook app. That's just an example. But the client application does everything through event-driven requests. So when I click like on a picture, it tells the server at a certain endpoint that picture 1, so /Mike/1/was liked, let's say. And then it tells the database, alright, we need to increment how many likes this one picture has. Now this is just an example, I'm trying to keep it simple, not trying to make a bunch of numbers and all that, but that's pretty much how it works. And like I'm about to show in a second, when I draw it out, it doesn't really matter where the server is or the client is. You can always change them up because they're not connected like they are in the MVC pattern. So if I decide I don't want my server anymore, I want to turn it from Node to PHP, I could throw out the whole Node app, make a PHP app, and it doesn't affect the client because they're separated. So the client server app, like I've explained, is 2 big pieces broken up into each other. Now if we were to compare this to an MVC structure, I would say that the controller and the model are down here, whereas the view sits up here in the client. Usually this structure is used with apps like client apps like React or anything with Vue, and sometimes with Angular, but I think React is the big one with this pattern because you can have your whole React app as the client app. So this whole thing could be a React app, and then this whole thing could be anything else. Literally anything. It could be a C#.NET, Java and Spring, anything you want. Python, Django, it does not matter because they are not the same. They're 2 different pieces, they're 2 different applications that communicate with each other. Now if you were to do a public API, it would pretty much be this, but you would have a bunch of public users with most likely keys, unless you really like to play dangerously, and that would go to all your public users outside in the world, and they would communicate with your server. So, right here, this one could be a React app, this one could be an Angular app, this one could be a Vue app, this can be Backbone.js, it doesn't matter. So the whole point of this structure is it's really nice when you're not 100% sure of the future of this application. So if I decided that I don't want to do the server with Node anymore and I want to build a new one here with Java, I could do that and just point this, here, get rid of those, and now it's a Java server with the same client, the same React client app. The concerns are separated. Separation of concern. That's a good way of explaining this pattern. So let's just undo that. So pretty much what happens is, let's say we'll go back to our Instagram example. We got an Instagram page. So let's say we have an Instagram page set up and it has a heart where you can like it. I click it. That click is going to go into my React app, where the front-end developer will set up an event that when the heart is clicked, it's going to call an endpoint at the server. So the server is going to have a bunch of different endpoints, and there's going to be one that we need, and it's going to say, okay, the heart was clicked, go get that one, and it tells it what picture, usually you would have the picture ID so that you can find it in a database. So anyways, once it's clicked, it sends to the link picture liked /1, so the first picture was liked, let's say, and then it goes to the server, it tells it, okay, this is the endpoint, and then it goes to the database and it adds it. So pretty much the model and the controller are put into one endpoint. That's what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun to make. Everything from the B-roll that I filmed, 4 or 5 times, all the way to showing you guys some drawings and stuff. I think I really like that style of teaching, but I really need to know what you guys want and what you guys like, because that's what matters at the end of the day, and I'll adapt around that. If you guys are interested in seeing any of this in code, actually seeing me code these two structures, we can do them in whatever languages, it doesn't matter. It'd be really cool to show. I just need to know if there's a demand for it before I spend a bunch of time on it. So please, comment below. Liking and disliking lets me know if you liked the video or you didn't like it. Subscribing lets me know if you enjoy my content overall. All these things directly help me better myself for future videos and future projects and all that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.